My name is Craig. I'm 68 years old, a retired HVAC technician who spent 4 decades fixing other people's broken systems while quietly becoming the weakest link in my own family. I married into a house where I never quite belonged. My wife came with history, money, and a son who learned early that I was replaceable, a late addition, the old man who kept his head down and his mouth shut. I was never loud like them, never sharp, never cruel. I was the one who swallowed insults, who believed patience could smooth anything out. Most days, I felt less like a husband or a father and more like a guest waiting to be told when it was time to leave. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have imagined, was that their disappointment in me had hardened into something far darker, something planned in whispers and shadows. Because the night I walked into the garage and heard my stepson say, "I already cut his brakes," I realized I hadn't just been pushed to the edge of the family. I had already been written out of it, and the ending they chose for me was fatal. The garage was dark, not dim, not quiet, dark, the kind of dark that eats up sound and bends your breath back toward your face. Smelled like cold metal, oil, dust, the kind of stillness that makes your ribs tight. I still had the fried chicken in my hand, paper bag soft with grease. It was warm, stupid really. I thought maybe, just maybe, it'd help. One normal dinner, one night without side eyes and silent meals. You get desperate when you're the ghost in your own house. Then I heard it. "Yeah, I already cut the brakes. He won't make it past the weekend." Jalen's voice, my wife's son, 29. Smug, with a jaw too tight and eyes that never blinked long enough. He was standing in the shadows by the workbench, phone glowing blue against his cheek like a cold halo. I stopped breathing. The silence wasn't silence. It was a pause in the world. My world. You. Sure. Mary Ann. My wife. Not shocked. Not scared. Just checking. My hand clenched the bag. Chicken grease slid down my wrist. "He won't make it to Monday," Jalen said. Then he laughed, like it was a punchline. I thought she'd scream. Ask what the hell was wrong with him. Tell him to shut up. Instead, I heard her exhale, soft, relieved. "Tomorrow," she said. "Just be careful." That was the moment. Not the threat. Not the laughter. That exhale. That was the moment I knew. I was alone. My boots scraped the concrete. Too loud. Jalen's head twitched toward the door. Just a hair. Just enough. I didn't wait. I stepped back. Slow. Pulled the door until it just touched the frame. No click. No trace. Outside, the air hit me like I was surfacing from underwater. The cold cut through my jacket like it had a grudge. The street looked normal. Too normal. Porch lights humming. A dog barking twice down the block. The neighbor's Christmas lights still blinking. That quiet lie of safety. My hands were shaking. I could barely get the keys in my pocket. I walked like it was just a stroll, like I wasn't dying inside, like I wasn't hearing her voice over and over. Just be careful. I got in my truck, sat with the engine off. The silence inside felt heavier than the one in the garage. I looked at my phone. My thumb hovered over 911. What would I even say? My stepson just admitted to cutting my brakes, and my wife didn't care. No recording, no body, no proof. Just a retiree with high blood pressure and a face everyone thinks looks tired lately. They'd flip it. Say I was confused, stressed, maybe depressed. "He's been forgetting things," Jalen would say. "He hasn't been the same since the stroke." Mary Ann might whisper. That's the thing about being underestimated. It becomes a weapon in their hands. A noose you tied yourself. I closed the app, opened another. Roadside assistance. "What's the pickup location?" I stared at. The house. Couldn't even look at the garage. "Front driveway," I said. "Silver F-150, non-drivable." "What's the issue?" "Safety concern." My voice was calm. That scared me more than the rest. "How soon?" "As soon as possible," I said, then paused. "Please." Hung up, ticking. The truck cooling. My heart not. There's a quote I used to tell apprentices: fix nothing when your hands are shaking. But now I'd learned the real one. They don't need to kill you to erase you. They just need you gone. That wasn't a mistake. They planned it, together, and I just became disposable. Rain tapped the windshield in slow, even beats. Like a countdown. I sat in my truck and watched the garage from across the street. The lights inside the house flicked on. Shadows passed the front window, one tall, one thin. I didn't move, didn't speak. The bag of chicken sat on the passenger seat, cooling, forgotten. My knuckles white on the steering wheel. You learn a few things fixing furnaces for 40 years, like how pressure builds slow until it doesn't. I opened the roadside assistance app, 3 taps, 1 lie. Silver F-150, front driveway, non-drivable, safety issue. The guy on the other end sounded like he'd just woken up. Didn't matter. How soon? As soon as possible, I said. Then softer. Please. I hung up and waited. There's a rule I used to tell the younger guys. Don't try to fix what you don't understand. Find the leak first. I had a leak. It was called trust. 28 minutes later, the tow truck rolled in. No questions. No small talk. I handed over the keys like they were evidence. Where's this going? He asked. I didn't blink. 1348 Winchester Ave. Drop it in the driveway. Leave the keys in the box. He paused. That's someone else's house, right? That's the point. Cut scene. Inside the house. Now. Quiet. Too quiet. Every room looked the same, but wrong. Like the colors had shifted a few shades colder. I walked past the hallway mirror and didn't recognize the man in it. Dinner was still on the counter. Untouched. I covered it, wrapped the chicken, put it in the fridge. It felt stupid, but I did it anyway. The kitchen smelled like lemon cleaner, bleach, and something else. Something faint, like old smoke. I stepped into the bedroom. Mary Ann wasn't there. Her purse was open on the dresser. A receipt peeked out. Clenline copy and print, document duplication, $48.72. Timestamp 2 days ago. I didn't take it, just stared at it. A knock at the door. I froze. Then again. 3 slow taps. I opened it to find Sherd Tate standing on the porch, wet from the rain. Jesus, Craig, he said, eyes scanning my face. You look like you saw a ghost. Not a ghost, I said. Something worse, the kind that smiles back. He stepped inside. I locked the door behind him. Sherd didn't sit. He stood by the table, arms crossed, boots dripping. You know, he said, when a man gets this quiet, it usually means one of 2 things. He's either given up or gearing up for war. I didn't answer. Instead, I handed him the receipt. He scanned it, whistled low. She duplicated something, he muttered. Documents, probably yours. He looked up. She ever get power of attorney? No, I said. He raised an eyebrow. She tried. Twice. Sherd nodded, slow. Then leaned in, voice low. You need to be careful, Craig. These people, your people, they don't play fair. I didn't tell him what I heard in the garage. I wasn't ready to say it out loud. I had the truck towed to Russell's. I said instead. He blinked. Russell Stroud. I nodded. That's bold. I needed them to know I know, I said. Let them panic. Let them wonder what's next. He almost smiled. Old dog's got teeth. No, I said. Old dog's got nothing left to lose. Cut scene. Bedroom again. Midnight. Wind outside. I opened Mary Ann's nightstand. Inside, keys, gum, a folded piece of paper, and a burner phone. No contacts saved. Just 1 text thread. A number with no name. I scrolled. Most recent. He's starting to suspect. Reply. Doesn't matter. Paperwork's done. Just stay on script. Another. Delivery complete. Waiting for final drop. Final drop. I stared at those words until my eyes burned. I stepped outside to breathe. The porch was empty, but I had the distinct sense of something just off. Like a curtain moved too fast. A light clicked off too soon. We live in a town where nobody locks their doors. Until they do. Phone buzzed. A message. No name. No number. We saw you leave the garage. Don't complicate this. I froze. Someone was watching. No lights on the street. Just shadows and fog. I looked up at the dark, starless sky. They think this ends with me dying quiet in my sleep. If they wanted a body, I just gave them the car. Without the corpse. Morning broke with a silence too clean, not peaceful, fabricated, like someone had scrubbed the house of noise. I stepped into the kitchen. Coffee was already brewed. Pancakes on the stove, like a TV commercial of a happy home. Mary Ann stood by the sink, her robe pressed, hair tied neat. She didn't look up. "Sleep okay?" she asked, stirring her cup. "Didn't," I said. She turned, smiled too tight. "You should eat something." Jalen sat at the table, scrolling his phone, not bothering to fake civility. "Big plans today, old man?" I poured myself coffee and sat. The chair creaked. His fingers didn't stop tapping. There's something about evil wrapped in routine that makes your skin crawl. I sipped, burned my tongue, didn't flinch. "You hear about that hit and run off Grant Street?" Mary Ann asked. Jalen grinned, eyes still on his phone. "Shame. People gotta check their brakes more." I stared at him. He finally looked up, held my gaze, then winked. Cutscene, garage. I pulled the hatch to the attic space above the rafters. Boxes, dust, junk. A safe I hadn't touched in years. Combination lock, click, open. Inside, birth certificates, life insurance policy, deed to the house. But one thing was missing. The original will, gone. Replaced with a neatly clipped folder titled Updated 2023. I opened it. New power of attorney. Signatures forged, mine included. Witnessed by names I didn't recognize. Cutscene. Hardware store. I bought 2 small fire alarms. Not for fires. Back home, I installed them. One in the living room, one in the bedroom. Inside, each held a pinhole camera. Real-time recording. No cloud. Direct storage to a local drive. I set the hard drive behind the basement paneling. Hidden. Quiet. Some truths need to be caught breathing. Cutscene. Dottie Pierce, our neighbor for 15 years, stood by her mailbox, watering the sidewalk. She looked up as I passed. "You're walking more," she said. "Mary Ann keeping you on your toes?" I smiled. Hollow. She leaned in. "You okay, Craig?" Pause. "No," I said. She straightened. "You want me to ask questions I'm not supposed to?" I didn't answer. She nodded once. "I'm here. You don't need to say it. Sometimes the people watching are the only ones who see." Cutscene. Back in the study, I checked the fire alarm feed. Clean? Too clean. Until 1:17 a.m. The bedroom camera flickered on. Mary Ann in robe, walking to my desk. Gloves on. She pulled open drawers, removed a folder, dialed a number. "I've got it. He doesn't suspect. Not yet." Pause. Then, quieter. "We should move faster. I think he's hiding something." Her voice shook. Not fear. Frustration. She hung up. Cutscene. Bank. I walked in, ID in hand. Smiled at the teller. "I need to review recent account access," I said. She clicked. Scanned. Froze. "You were here last Thursday," she said. "You signed the withdrawal." "No," I said. "I didn't." She turned her monitor. Signature. My name. My writing. But not mine. What was withdrawn? $18,000. My throat dried. There is also a notarized authorization for future transfers. To where? She hesitated. A joint account. Jalen Stroud. Mary Ann Hogue. Time slowed. Air left my lungs. Back outside, I nearly collapsed on the curb. "You ever feel the ground shift before the quake?" Sherd had once asked me. "If you're lucky, you'll move. If you're not, you'll be buried with everything you thought was solid." Cutscene. Evening. Jalen passed me in the hallway. You really should take it easy, Craig. Stress at your age can be permanent. He patted my shoulder, walked on. Behind him, I caught the faint sound of a text received from the burner phone I hadn't touched. It was upstairs, on my pillow, lit up. One message. We're watching him. He's folding fast. They're watching me. But now, I'm watching them too. 1:17 a.m. Bedroom monitor. Frame steady. Mary Ann. Robe. Gloves. Phone to her ear. I've got it. He doesn't suspect. Not yet. Click. I watched it on loop, not to confirm what I'd heard, but to burn it into my brain. Trust dies fast when your wife wears gloves to steal from you. Cutscene, backyard, flashlight in one hand, shovel in the other, dirt damp from the storm. I pried up the loose floorboards in the shed, the ones I hadn't touched since we built it. Something shifted beneath. A metal case, combination lock, already cracked. Inside, cash, burners, SIM cards. A folder labeled Craig Hogue Contingency Plan. I flipped it open, forged documents. My signature on property transfer forms. Life insurance updates, all recent, all notarized. Not by me. I didn't breathe. Cutscene. Sherd's Auto Shop. Mid-morning. Tools on hooks. Air compressor humming low. Grease underfoot. I held out the folder. He didn't touch it. Jesus, Craig, he said. They're not just pushing you out. They're cutting you off the map. They're writing the ending for me, I said. And I haven't even gotten to the middle yet. Sherd took the burner phone, scanned the texts, jaw tight. You know what scares me most, he said. She didn't even bother to lie. Cutscene, kitchen. That afternoon, Mary Ann hummed softly while washing strawberries. Dottie stopped me at the mailbox, she said. Said you looked tired, that you were walking at night. I didn't answer. You really should be getting more rest. I watched her hand slice through fruit. Red juice, white cutting board. Maybe talk to someone, she added, about the paranoia. She looked up, eyes too calm. Sometimes, she said, we start inventing threats when we feel powerless. I stared at the knife, then at her smile. Funny, I said. I don't feel powerless at all, she blinked, just once. Cut. Scene. Bank office. Small conference room. A woman in a blazer sat across from me. Files open. These are your retirement disbursements, she said. The checks were processed electronically. I shook my head. I never signed anything. She turned a page. Pointed. There it was again. My name. My handwriting. Not mine. It appears you did, Mr. Hogue. Do you know this notary? I slid her the signature. She leaned in, frowned. That's not one of ours. Cutscene. Basement. I opened the wall panel, pulled the drive from the surveillance rig, plugged it into my laptop. Folder, bedroom, file, night 1lm.mp4. I clicked new footage. Jalen, in my bedroom, alone. He opened my drawer, took nothing, just stared into the mirror, then whispered, almost to himself, he's gonna crack soon. Cut scene. Dottie's house. Back porch. She poured coffee. No sugar. You ever feel watched in your own skin? I asked. All the time, she said. But only when someone wants me to feel it. She leaned forward. Whatever you're digging into, Craig, don't do it alone. She looked toward my house. They're not afraid of being caught. That makes them dangerous. Cutscene. Evening. Backyard again. The air felt thicker, like it carried weight. I checked the shed. Locked. Returned to the house. Up the stairs. Stopped. Something was off. The door to my office. Open. I'd closed it. Always did. I stepped inside. Desk drawers. Shifted. Camera in the fire alarm. Unplugged. I reached for my phone. Opened the app. The camera feed had stopped 27 minutes ago. At 6:32 p.m., I checked the footage. The last frame before the signal cut. A hand. Covering the lens. I ran downstairs. Front door. Ajar. On the welcome mat. A single strawberry. Sliced in half. This wasn't about killing me. It was about erasing me. Sherd's voice hit like a jolt to the spine. You were right. It's deeper than we thought. I've got one shot to show you. Meet me tonight, 11 p.m., our old shop. Click. No time to call back. No time to think. I stared at the sliced strawberry still sitting on the mat. Like a signature. Sometimes a warning looks like a fruit. Cutscene. 10:48 p.m. The truck engine idled outside, windows fogged. My heart beat louder than the radio. I hadn't driven since the tow. Got a rental from the next town. Kept it quiet. I checked the brakes. Once. Then again. Still didn't trust them. Cutscene. Empty roads. Trees blurred under the high beams. Rain started halfway through. Every drop a tap on glass. Every turn tighter than it should be. The shop was up ahead, just past the curve near the old grain lot. I pressed the brake. Nothing. Pedal sunk. Wheels locked. No control. The truck skidded, screeching, wild, veered left, straight off the road. Glass exploded. Metal. Screamed. Silence. My ribs felt cracked. Blood from my eyebrow blurred one eye. Smoke hissed from under the hood. Airbag didn't deploy. I kicked the door open and fell into mud. Crawled. Feet slipped. Palms raw. Chest burning. But I moved. Because survival isn't grace. It's gravity. Cutscene. The auto shop loomed in the dark like a memory I wasn't ready to have again. Back door unlocked. I limped inside. One flickering bulb over the workbench. The smell hit first. Oil. And something worse. Then I saw him. Sherd. Slumped over the table. Bottle beside him. Syringe on the floor. I rushed in. His skin was cold. But there was no track marks. No booze on his breath. And Sherd didn't drink. He hated needles. It was staged. Cutscene. Toolbox open. Inside, taped to the bottom, an envelope and a flash drive. Handwritten. For Craig. Do not trust her. I shoved both into my jacket. Sirens in the distance. Too soon. Too fast. No one called them. Not yet. Unless someone else already had. I backtracked out the side door, down the alley, behind the dumpster, slid into the shadows like I'd never been there. Cutscene. Home. Bathroom mirror. Blood dried. My hands shook. I plugged in the flash drive. One video file. Timestamp 2 weeks ago. Sherd's garage cam. Mary Ann. Russell. Jalen. In a private office. Documents on the desk. They were laughing. Russell leaned back, lit a cigar. Once this clears, he said, Craig won't even be a memory. Jalen chuckled. He already isn't. Mary Ann. She said nothing. Just signed. 3 pages. Then she smiled. That's the last time I'll have to clean up his mess. Cutscene. Outside. A car idled 2 houses down. Lights off. Still. I stepped onto the porch. Didn't move. Just stared at it. A door opened. Someone stepped out. Lit a cigarette. I didn't recognize him, but he knew me. Some wars aren't loud. They whisper in signatures. Burn slow. They already buried me. I just didn't lie still. I called it a family dinner. Mary Ann accepted without hesitation. It'll be nice, she said. We could use a quiet night. Jalen smirked. Feels like the Last Supper, doesn't it? Russell didn't answer, but he showed up. That was enough. I cooked roast chicken, mashed potatoes, candles on the table, set like a ritual, because that's what this was. Cutscene. The living room camera blinked red. Live stream active, connected to 2 destinations. 1, attorney Janice Keys. 2, local journalist Hector Salas. Both watching. Recording. Real-time insurance. I sat last, lifted my glass. To family, I said. They clinked back. Smiles like masks. Cutscene. The meal started slow. Then I laid the folder on the table. 3 sets of eyes stopped moving. Russell reached for his water. Mary Ann didn't blink. Jalen just leaned back. Is that a threat? She asked. No, I said. It's a mirror. Inside, copies of the forged will. Bank. Withdrawals. Footage stills. A printout of the flash drive transcript. Russell exhaled sharp. You think anyone will believe this? No, I said. I think they'll believe you. I tapped the speaker. Sherd's voice filled the room. You were right, Craig. It was always her. Then came Russell's own voice. Let the brakes go. Make it look like an accident. Mary Ann's hand twitched. I pressed play again. Slower. This time, her laugh. Cut scene. Sirens wailed in the distance. They all looked at each other. I stayed still. It's just insurance, I said. You taught me that, Mary Ann. Everything needs coverage. Russell stood. We walk now, or we burn with you. You already burned, I said. I just lit the match late. Jalen lunged across the table. I stood faster. Through the glass, it shattered against his chest, blood from a shallow cut. Nothing fatal, but enough to make him stop. The front door burst open, police in. Yells, hands raised, cuffs, voices like storms. Cut scene. Outside, the street glowed in red and blue. Neighbors whispered, cameras flashed. Dottie stood on her porch, arms crossed. She nodded once. Cut scene. Interrogation room. I watched through glass. Mary Ann said nothing. Russell lawyered up. Jalen wept. Confessions would come later. They always do. After denial, after pressure, truth doesn't scream. It waits. Cut scene. 2 weeks later, the house felt lighter. I packed the last box. Keys on the counter. A new place waited. Smaller, quieter, mine. Sherd's voice still echoed in my mind. Don't let them write your ending. Sometimes surviving isn't enough. Sometimes you have to rewrite the whole damn script. I left a copy of the flash drive in the drawer just in case. People forget. Paper remembers. Outside, the sun broke clean through the clouds. I lit a cigarette, watched it burn down. Peace doesn't come fast, but it comes. Because in the end, survival isn't the victory. It's reclaiming the life they tried to erase. They thought I was the past, but I just rewrote the ending.